Welcome to I Said What I Said, a sports podcast giving you opinions not heard anywhere else. I'm your host, Brad Wakai, alongside my co-host, Tyson Gentry. And Tyson, we're getting right into it today, man. NFL draft, we're going through the rounds 1 through 3. So days 1 and 2 that we're going to give our analysis. We're going to give you the biggest WTF moments. What the hell was that? I think everybody knows which one we're going to lead with. And then we're going to discuss the QB situation. 6 in the top 12, first time that's ever happened. And on the flip side, the defensive thing, is this a change in the way that people are viewing this? And then we'll kind of go through our favorite drafts so far, really looking at rounds 1 through 3. That's really where you're going to get your impact, guys, as we have day 3 going on right now with rounds 4 through 7. So, Tyson, before we get into the WTF moments, what did you think just first couple of days? What do you think, team building wise, strategy wise? Just give me your thoughts.
Well, you said it was going to be boring. And by the 8th pick of the night, the bar I was at, everybody was pounding the table and freaking out and all that stuff. We got it started early. This was the farthest away I think I've seen most mock drafts. This was everybody got duped, but there was no smoke. And so everybody was kind of making up their own, I'm hearing this or whatever. It's not the way it happened. If you notice my eyes wandering today, it's because I have 4 through 7 up on my phone right now. We're covering 1, 2, 3. Because as Brad said, that's where you're going to get your impact guys. Doesn't mean you can't get good guys in 4 through 7, but if you have a good day 1 and 2, doesn't matter how you do on day 3. You can have a great day 3 and make up for 1 and 2, but that's few and far between.
Yeah, absolutely. And so let's get into it, because I said it was going to be boring, and basically it was chalk through the first 7 picks, and then all of a sudden the biggest WTF moment of all, the freaking Atlanta Falcons pick Michael Penix Jr., number 8 overall, after he just handed Kirk Cousins $90 million, $100 million. I'm going to throw it to you because I want to shred apart the Falcons, because this is just a complete team building disaster, master class disaster class they put on. But I want to get your thoughts on that.
Well, I've been trying to play devil's advocate for 2 days now, and I can't find an angle. Maybe the injury is way worse than they thought. But if that was the case, then do your homework before you tamper with the guy in the free agency pool to sign him to this massive contract. So it's either the injury is worse than they thought, or they think they're going to get in more trouble than the rest of us do for the tampering issue, right? Those are the only 2 things I can think. Is Roger going to take him off the team? What else makes sense for taking Michael Penix Jr.? If you've been listening to the pod, you know that I love Michael Penix Jr. This is the humble brag, but he was my QB4. He went QB4, right, in the NFL draft.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not the way that we really thought this was going to happen. I thought he could come in and play for somebody pretty quick. I didn't think that the age thing was a huge concern. And then the Falcons decided, hey, let's sit this dude for 2 years while he learns to play. He'll be 26. Not that, that's a make or break thing, but it's an expensive backup quarterback. That's a really expensive backup quarterback. They've been a mess at the quarterback position since Matt Ryan. And for all the things they fell in love with Desmond Ridder for, they fell in love with Michael Penix Jr. because they said when he was throwing outside, it felt like there was no wind. They play in a dome.
Here's the issue. Here's the issue, Tyson. Michael Penix talked about it through the draft process. This kid could be really good, and I think, sure, if you want to take him at 8, I don't have a problem with that. If you think he's a quarterback of your future,
if you're the Raiders,
but you knew, if you're the Atlanta Falcons, that you had the 8th overall pick on January 8th when the season ended. You knew you were the 8th overall pick. You had the ability to watch Michael Penix Jr. It's not like he was in the Miami of Ohio in the MAC. This kid's on Washington. They're competing. You can see him. Your job as a front office is to evaluate talent. Don't tell me, we fell in love with them during the draft process, during the combine. Then that's on you. It's a failure on your part, especially after you just handed Kirk Cousins $90 million. I get the thing. It's been a mess at the quarterback position. Okay, we can stash Michael Penix, blah, blah, blah. Here's the issue with that, though. You went out and gave Kirk Cousins money because you feel this roster is ready to compete right now. There are holes on your roster that you could have addressed with the 8th pick. This is a luxury item you got. You're thinking 2 years down the road. Brother, you got to make the playoffs now. This is a winnable division, Terry. And you just handed out $9 million. Didn't tell your owner that you're going to draft the QB. It's just insanity to me. And the other thing too, Tyson, this is the same Atlanta Falcons front office group who does this nonsense, and they have the balls to brag. Bill Belichick, man, we didn't think he was a top 3 candidate. Really? And we went over this in coaching staff stuff. Listen, we said we're better candidates right now than Bill Belichick, but for you, the Atlanta Falcons, who have never done a damn thing in this, brag about a guy who's won 6 Super Bowls, and you kept them off the list, and then you turn around about a month later and do this. It's just ridiculous.
Well, and add to it, right? Well, so we go back 2 years ago. They don't want anything to do with Lamar Jackson, but they were all in on Deshaun Watson. And then they don't want anything to do with Lamar Jackson. And then they go out and they give Kirk Cousins $100 million. And then they go take Michael Penix. And they didn't tell Kirk Cousins that they were going to take Michael Penix. That's another part of this. Now, Michael Penix could end up being a fantastic player, right? Like if he rips off 6 all-pro teams, then down the line, people are going to go, well, it was a good pick. Doesn't matter. It doesn't change the fact that right now this team's going to get 2 sacks next year, right? Like they're going to have no pressure on the quarterback. There's their choice of edge rusher. If you don't like one, call somebody and say, hey, there's like Seattle, right? So they come out and they go, New Orleans, Vegas, and Seattle all wanted Michael Penix Jr. And then New Orleans comes out and goes, no, we didn't. And
Right.
Seahawks go, no, we had Byron Murphy the whole time. And so that's just another example of maybe they weren't necessarily doing the homework that they thought they were doing, because it's a disaster. And I want Michael Penix Jr. to be good. I think he's walking into the best situation of any of the rookie quarterbacks as far as skill position players. But I don't know how it's going to look in 2 years. Is Kyle Pitts going to get extended? What's Drake London's contract going to be at that time? How much cap room are they going to have? Especially because like this is getting compared to the Jordan Love thing. Jordan Love was 22. On a good team. Like that was a luxury pick. That was something you could have afforded to do. We were all making fun of it, but they went to the NFC Championship game the next year. Aaron Rodgers rips off 2 MVPs. Jordan Love looks good. What is best case scenario here? You think Kirk Cousins is ripping off 2 MVPs in a row, coming off his torn Achilles at 35 years old?
And the other thing too is, they took Jordan Love. It looks good now. Tyson, I'm pulling up when he was selected right now.
22, I think.
It was 22 overall. We're not talking about a top 10 capital here.
Yes.
It's just crazy to me. I don't understand. So, 26 overall pick. Packers went and traded up and got him in the 2020 draft. All right. That's what we just trade into the back end, go select the quarterback. You like the guy. Not, holy smokes, we have the 8th overall pick. We just paid a guy $90 million. Let's draft the quarterback. It makes no sense. It's just an organizational disaster. Again, Michael Penix Jr. could be a great player for them. But the other thing is too, because this is a 4-year contract that they handed Kirk Cousins. So then Fontenot, if we have to sit Penix for 4 to 5 years, that's a good problem to have. Really? No, it's not. Because then you just wasted your freaking rookie contract window.
And so you just signaled to Kirk Cousins that, hey, the 2-year out that we put into your contract, we were planning to use the entire time. Like this is the last big bag that you're going to get. I think that that's going to hurt like future negotiations with players. Other players are going to see that and go, man, like these guys don't give a shit about their word, because this is the most Atlanta Falcons thing ever. We pounded the table for 4 years. Arthur Smith needs a quarterback. They lose Arthur Smith. They find a quarterback. We go, oh, the Falcons might, they're putting together a team that could win the NFC South. And then the criticism finally got through. There was a letter on Terry Fontenot's desk, and he was just like, oh, everybody in the world thinks we should take quarterback. He didn't realize it was dated before COVID started, right? So this is a huge problem. He's on the screen right now on ESPN. I don't have the subtitles on, but I imagine he's apologizing to everybody in the Atlanta area.
All right. I've said my piece on that. Let's get into the other WTF moment for you. What stood out when you're like, whoa?
Well, I know that I'm going to save the quarterback thing. Let's talk about that next. But I think the biggest WTF moment for me outside of the Penix thing was when the Buffalo Bills needed a wide receiver, trade to the Kansas City Chiefs, and allowed them to come up and get Xavier Worthy. Now, you can think Xavier Worthy is going to stink. You think he's too little. He's too light, and he's not going to do anything besides stretch the field. Or you look at his route tree and you go, man, that's a guy that could play, and you just handed him to Andy Reid, and they're going to use him creatively. I think that Buffalo really wanted Brian Thomas, and when he flew off the board to Jacksonville, what was that, 24 maybe, something like that?
23.
23. And so I
Yeah.
think that was their guy. They couldn't get him, and they scrambled. I just think that for a team that they just gave their biggest bully, somebody that we've seen that offense be able to utilize. Worst case scenario, he's Miko Hardman. And everybody at home right now is going, that's not that big of a deal. Who got the game-winning touchdown in the Super Bowl?
I know.
And it's bad. And I think that we all knew Kansas City needed a receiver. I think that a lot of people thought it was going to be A.D. Mitchell. This should have been locked in our minds a long time ago. Like, this is a 4-2 guy, a legit 4-2 guy that they just added to this offense. Man, they needed speed, and they got speed. I don't think this says anything about Rashee Rice's suspension. I don't think this says anything about the way they view the other skill position players. This was just talk about a luxury pick. What do we need? Oh, let's stretch the field. We're a guy that could throw it 70 yards. Buffalo could have used the same guy. Now they go get Ladd McConkey, who some people might think is better, but this has the opportunity to bite you in the butt for the next 10 years, and that's why I'm like, what the just happened?
Yeah, Ladd went to the Chargers, right?
Excuse me. They got was it Keon Coleman?
Keon Coleman, yes, yeah. Your boy Keon Coleman. Which, for us, we kind of said this in the draft process. Yeah, he's kind of getting slept on a little bit. I mean, big body guy, good player, fast. I kind of like that for Buffalo. I think he's Brian Thomas light.
He had to go somewhere where the quarterback didn't care about throwing into tight windows. And I think that Josh Allen is going to be really good for him. I think if he ended up, somewhere where the quarterback is a little bit like if he goes to Atlanta, let's say, and Kirk Cousins doesn't want to fit that thing in there the way Josh Allen does, it'd be a long career. I think Buffalo got a good one. I still just, if he catches a game-winning touchdown in any playoffs for the next 6 years, you lost the trade.
My WTF moment, I'm making fun of the Falcons. I'm going to make fun of another poor roster building thing. The Jaguars trading back and taking Brian Thomas Jr. Listen, Mel Kiper had it mocked, and we were like, this would be just so Trent Baalke, so Jags, and they do it, of course, because they just are clueless. And I got a Jags fan who's just lapping this thing up, man. He's like, oh, we needed a receiver. There's a difference between want and need. What you needed was a cornerback, and what you had the opportunity to do, because everybody was falling in this draft, was choose Terry and Arnold, who's CB1 or 2, depending on who you ask in this draft. That's what you needed. You didn't need Brian Thomas Jr. Like, you just gave Gabe Davis a ton of money. You lost Calvin Ridley. Who cares? You brought in somebody else. Like, I just don't understand. Zay Jones, he's out here. Dude, this is a stacked receiving class. Go get in round 2. That was just insane to me. I just couldn't help. I'm like, of course. Like, of course the Jags are going to do this. I'm going to say the same thing I said about the Falcons with the Jags. If you wonder why teams in this league always stay bad, who are bad, it's because they do stuff like this. It never fails. Bad organizations make stupid decisions, and this was one of them.
And then they follow up. They go with Mason Smith in the second round. Maybe they just really, really liked watching the LSU team last year and the up and down track meet nature of their football games. And we're like, let's get 2 of those guys. I'm not overly impressed. Not to say that either one of those guys can be good. It's just there's some pretty glaring holes on the Jack. This is a team that collapsed to end the season, and they looked around and they said, you know what we need? Wide out. It's like, no, that wasn't the issue. That was not your problem. You got to invest in Trevor Lawrence and all that stuff. We get that, but there's other ways to go about it than spending your first-round pick. This is a team that wants to make a run in the playoffs, not just make the playoffs, and this doesn't put them any closer to making the playoffs, let alone making a run. My next, I think, for everybody, 6 quarterbacks in the top 12? 6? Like, we were hearing that and seeing that on, like, Peter Schrager put out a mock before round 1, and it was like, okay, that'd be crazy if that happened, but there's no way. We're seeing Bo Nix to 12 at the Broncos this entire draft process, and it's like, that's just because nobody knows, where Denver's going to go with this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Objectively, in college this year, I think those 6 guys that got picked in the top 12 might have had the best college careers of any quarterback class that we've seen. Now, is that going to translate to the NFL? You and I don't necessarily think so. There's a pretty good chance that 3 of these guys stink, maybe 4 of them stink, right? And that's the issue. But there's 2 ways to look at this. It's everybody needs a quarterback. It's the most important position in sports. 6 teams just got their guy for the next 4 years. The other way is, when you're so far away from competing, I'm not talking about the top 3 teams. We knew they were going to go quarterback. We had those guys in their own kind of different tier, right? Than Michael Penix, JJ McCarthy, and Bo Nix. What is Denver going to do? Who's he throwing the football to? Who's protecting him? It's a objective Sean Payton getting cute and saying, you know what, I can make this guy into something special. Everybody's making fun of me about the way Russell Wilson went. I got to show you guys I can still coach. Bo Nix is a perfect Sean Payton quarterback in that he can do 4 or 5 things really well and he can't stretch the field. How are you going to beat Kansas City? I'm just asking.
Yeah, so that's the interesting thing here, right? And I think people were surprised. I didn't necessarily
take another LSU
Denver.
defensive tackle.
There we go. Yeah, Jordan Jefferson. Let's go, Balky. I think he's a bigger fan than you, Tyson. You're the LSU guy on the show.
I guess.
My thing with the Knicks, we got to remember, and it's telling every single time, different positions are valued differently in the NFL, and quarterback is clearly valued higher. And so when we see the 6 QBs in the top 12, there are needy teams. I think 7 teams probably were looking for a QB, and the one that was left out was the Raiders. So the Broncos get their guy, and Knicks. That's apparently who they wanted. I think he'll fit with what Sean Payton wants to do. If Sean Payton likes Bo Nix and he thinks he can work in his offense, listen, I know it's a fun thing to make fun of Sean Payton now. The guy's a Super Bowl winning head coach. He basically reinvigorated Drew Brees' career, turned him into a Hall of Famer. Like, who are we going to argue with, to be completely honest? Drafted Tony Romo, worked out great for the Cowboys, developed, whatever the case may be there. So if he thinks Knicks can do well, who's he throwing to? I think that's a good thing. I mean, Cortland Sutton, Josh Reynolds, Marvin Mims, and now Troy Franklin. You look at that and you're like, not necessarily jumping off the page. And I agree with you. I was surprised they didn't go offensive lineman here. I mean, Garrett Bowles, they've been trying to get rid of him forever at left tackle. Mike McGlinchey, the right tackle, had a better year. But Ben Powers, Luke Wattenberg, and Quinn Manhurts on the inside, not exactly a killer's road there. What they do the rest of the way. But again, you're looking for your guy here. And they think Bo Nix is going to be the guy. You didn't have to move up to get him. Take him at 12. And on the flip side, I thought, nobody had the Minnesota Vikings, Tyson, with 2 picks in the first round because they were trading up. They're going to get 4. Like, everybody in the world thought that was happening. I thought they were, they just waited it out. Drake May went to 3. Nobody's jumping. Okay. Nobody's making the call up, right? Like, let's wait. Oh, we just flip one with the Jets. Boom, get our guy. Hold everybody else off. Perfect for them. Kept their capital, just a little flip, a little something late round. I thought they had a great draft. Got the guy McCarthy. Didn't have to go crazy and panic and go up and get him. Beautiful. And that's a good organization, good front office in the Minnesota Vikings. You give your quarterback or your head coach a chance with Sam Darnold and McCarthy, whenever you want to turn it over to him, and you still have your future picks. Like, it was brilliant.
Yeah, and that's when we say we think they had a good draft, we're talking about like playing the board, not necessarily like how all these dudes are going to pan out, because then they look around and they go, man, we could have taken Dallas Turner at 10 or at 11. If he was there, we'll go up and get him at 17. And lastly, you mentioned Vegas kind of being left out in the cold. They went out and signed Gardner Minshew. They got a little bridge quarterback action here, and Aiden O'Connell will compete. I think that, objectively on the way that you're going to spend, if Michael Penix Jr. or Bo Nix become Pro Bowl level players, all pro level players, then it's an L. But if they don't, then Vegas invested $15 million into the quarterback position this offseason, is going to come out better for it than all these other teams that were kind of, we won't call it reaching, but making questionable decisions.
On that note, Tyson, no defense until 15. Latest that the first defender has ever come off the board in NFL draft history. We thought probably it was going to be 8 to the Falcons until they pulled the nonsense they pulled. And then the rest of Bears, okay, I think the Bears are probably sitting there like, well, we don't necessarily want Dallas Turner, Latu, like, we got Montez Sweat. If anything, I was surprised they didn't take Byron Murphy. A 3 technique guy. You have a defensive head coach, but they went offense. Roma Dunze. Vikings were never going to take defense that early. Jets were never going to take defense that early. Broncos never were going to. Raiders, we thought it was going to be offensive line. They went tackle. Saints, or I'm sorry, they went tight end. Saints went tackle. Then you're sitting there with the Colts, and it's like, man, if they don't take somebody, Tyson, we could have a run of things here. Well, I guess the Seahawks would have taken a defender at 16. But I was just like, man, if it wasn't 8, it was going to be a while. It turns out it was a while, and the Colts took Latu, and they got a guy. If he hits, they got a guy coming off the edge for a while.
Yes, and that's the thing with this draft. All this whole time, everybody's been telling everybody out there that, like, hey, this defensive class is a little weak. It's not full of. There's no blue chippers that we see. In these NFL front offices, they're not. There's no Devin Witherspoon. There's no Sauce Gardner. There's no Derek Stingley. There's no Myles Garrett. Like all these guys. Now, can Latu turn into that? Absolutely. But the bigger question here, Brad, and I know my answer. I want to hear yours. Is this going to be a trend going forward?
Oh, I don't think so. I mean, listen, everybody looks at the Kansas City Chiefs and is like, Mahomes. They've won the last 2 Super Bowls with their defense. Like you need a good defense to still compete in this league. Like the Eagles were incredible on offense when they went to the Super Bowl. Yeah, but their defense was great too. Why'd the Eagles fall off last year? Their defense sucked. Like you still need to, it's still football, man. Like you still need to get after the passer, you need to stop the other people. The objective of the game, yes, is to score points, but you want to have more points on the board than the other team by having you stop them as well. So I think this is just an anomaly, a little one-off. The offensive class next year, I don't think is going to be as strong as we saw this year with quarterback and back.
It's just Luther Burden as far as like guys that are comparable to people that are you putting Shadir Sanders in the same class as Caleb Williams or even as Jaden Daniels?
I saw he was early mock draft, the #1 overall pick.
That's because Dion made the line. It's like Quinn Ewers might get his job taken. That's the other guy, right? That's true. The 2 right now. There's no normally, the guys that are locked in, Caleb Williams, a bit of an anomaly, holds that position for 3 years. We've seen dudes fall off and other guys rise. So maybe we're discounting somebody along the way. Carson Beck or something has a great year, but no, this isn't going to happen again. There's a reason it's the first time in the 100 years that they've been doing this thing, and it probably will be the last time in the next 100.
Okay, let's get into some of our favorite drafts so far, Tyson. So we're focused on rounds 1 through 3. I got to say, what stood out to me, man, mainly just because there was a million picks and they needed it. The Arizona Cardinals, I thought, have recuperated assets to a tremendous team. I mean, first off, Michael Penix Jr., beautiful. I thought the Darius Robinson play was a little bit interesting, but you want a little edge rush help. We know Jonathan Gannon, he wants people coming off the edge. Felt like a little bit of a reach to me, but whatever. Your boy Max Melton goes round 2. And we thought for sure that they were going to go cornerback with their later pick in the first round. They decided to go get edge, and they still get a ball hawk type of guy from Rutgers in round 2. And you got 3 picks in round. No, I'm sorry. You have 4 picks in round 3. God, NFL Network's website is just driving me insane right now. God, I just had it up. I don't know what's going on. But if you're a team like the Cardinals and you know that you're struggling, you know there's holes on your roster, you got to try to look for value and immediate impact right now. And I thought they did that, and they were able to do that quickly. Now NFL draft, it's the biggest weekend that you guys can have in your websites. Come on, guys, like this is just
traffic.
Ridiculous.
It's too many people on there right now trying to look at the same thing. I'll take it over for a quick second as you're looking there. It's not my favorite draft, but I like what Washington is trying to do. So they go out, they get Jaden Daniels at 2, and we know they have a million picks in the top 100. Johnny Newton falls. They get a guy that a lot of people thought was going to go in the first round or the second round. Anytime you can get 2 guys who are probably going to walk in as day 1 starters, those are good things. Sanistril, the dude from Michigan.
Mikey Samerstill, baby.
Yeah.
Now he wants to go Mike, remember?
Yeah, sorry. I didn't mean to do that. He's going to go play there too. They get him at 50. They get Ben Sinnott at 53, which has flown up draft boards. Now, we can kind of bury Cole Turner, I think, here. I think that's kind of what Washington's looking at. And then they go get Luke McCaffrey. And these aren't guys, that the top of boards, but in Washington, Luke McCaffrey might be able to vie for the number 3 wide receiver role later in the season, right? Like this is a team that needed a lot of help, and I think that they got guys that might not be superstars, but they can plug and play in a way that some other teams in similar positions. I'm thinking maybe Pittsburgh, maybe Cincinnati, some of these other teams that might not be able to plug these dudes in right away. And not that those teams are in the same situation as Washington, but when you're rebuilding, like, would you rather be the Commanders right now or the New England Patriots? I don't think that decision is very close, or as close as it was Thursday night.
Okay, now after my meltdown, the NFL Network or NFL.com decided to work. Trey Benson round 3. I like that for the Cards. The guy could either be really good or he couldn't be. It's a round 3 running back. Who cares? Take a chance. Isaiah Adams, guard from Illinois. Okay. Tip Ryman, little Illinois tight end action. Super athletic. You already have kind of the 2 tight end look with, what's his name? Trey McBride. And then to close it out, you get another cornerback in Elijah Jones, a big time need that you needed there. A good player, round 3 guy. I like what the Cardinals did so far. And then Tyson, come on, man. I know we got to say it. People are going to say you're a homer. The Philadelphia Eagles. Are you kidding me? Everybody, Eagles are going up. They're trading up. They got to go get a guy. How about this? You don't have to. The biggest need they had in their roster, corner, they get the best one. Oh, yeah, they get in round 2 a guy who should be a round 1 pick. And Cooper DeJean falls to him at 40. This guy was getting mocked at 25. This guy would have been a top 10 pick, top 15, top 20 pick if he didn't get hurt. And then
people were saying he was going 22 to Philly, and they get him at 40.
Right. And I don't know anything about this guy. Jalix Hunt from Houston Christian, edge rusher. I don't know. But apparently Vic Fangio likes him. Got freaky traits. Listen, in Vic we trust. I don't know about that. All I know is rounds 1 and 2 couldn't have gone any better for him. I mean, he didn't have to give up any capital except for going to jump everybody in round 2. But who cares? That's just a late round little maneuver in there.
And then they double that up. They trade back a couple times in the 3rd and end up with 3 4th-round picks. They have more ammo today to do, Howie Roseman things. And this is a strategy we've kind of seen the Green Bay Packers employ over the last couple of years. It's not in the 1st and 2nd round, but it's double tapping or triple tapping certain positions and saying one of these guys is going to hit. This is when you look at Green Bay's wide receiver room and you go, how do they get all these guys? These dudes are in the same draft class or within 2 or 3 years of each other, kind of spreading, throwing as many darts at the board as you can. Because at the end of the day, if one of these guys is really good, it's a huge advantage. And I think for a team that needed speed, I don't think the decision was very tough. A lot of people like Terrion Arnold because he played in the SEC, and he's better in main coverage, at least on the film in college, than Quinyon Mitchell was, because that's not what he was asked to do at Toledo. And those are things that translate to the NFL. So I get why people were like, Terrion Arnold. Quinyon Mitchell ran a 4.3. The Philadelphia Eagles defense last year was the least explosive unit in the NFL. So I like what they did as well. And, I also want to just give a shout out to all the teams in the NFL draft, like the Saints and the Giants, those guys that didn't overthink their 1st-round picks. They said, we had this guy as our number 1 for the last 3 months, and then we're not going to get influenced by the way this thing is falling. We're not going to freak out with all the weird stuff going on with these other teams. We're just going to take our guy. Those are 2 organizations that have been in the gutter for the last couple of years, so it wouldn't have been surprising, right, if New York wanted to make a Godfather offer for a Drake May, or if the Saints decided, you know what, we want Michael Penix, and we're going to go up to 8. Both of those teams just decided, you know what, man, we got too much stuff to fix right now, which is a decision that not everybody in the NFL draft followed. Brad, I got to get your opinion on this.
Yeah.
I love Brock Bowers to the Vegas Raiders.
Nobody really
else on America, it seems to like that pick. What do you think?
Yeah. Is a luxury item that I think they didn't really have the luxury of. I mean, listen, he's a good player. He's going to be a good player, we think, at the next level. That offensive line is horrendous. You had an opportunity to bolster that. Now, they did with Jackson Powers Johnson in round 2. So, okay, you get a little guy there. And many people thought Tyson was going to go in round 1 for a long time. They actually did a good job getting him in round 2. We kind of got lucky with that. And then you get another tackle in Delmar Glaze in round 3. So, okay, you address that. You get the Bowers and you kind of see maybe we can filter these guys in. But I'm curious. I know Gardner Minshew likes to throw to the tight end, so I think he's going to get usage, and you can pair him with Michael Mayer. So I think you get a little two tight end look, and if you don't have to use Bowers in the blocking aspect of things, Mayer can block a little bit more. Plus, you have Bowers going across the middle. I just will say this: I was surprised it didn't go with one of the offensive linemen that was available.
I was surprised too. But the reason that I've grown to like it as I started thinking about it is I think Michael Mayer isn't necessarily dead as a lot of people want to pronounce him right now. I think he is the traditional inline tight end. If you watched Georgia much, you realize that Brock Bowers he didn't put his hand in the dirt a whole lot, right? This guy's going to come in and he's going to play big slot, and the Vegas Raiders are going to go 6'4" across the board. Like Jacoby Myers is the little guy in this offense right now, and Antonio Pierce came in and. Remember when they beat the Chiefs without even having to throw the ball? They went Michigan style. They didn't have to throw the ball for a half an hour, 45 minutes. That's the way that they want to play. I think this is as they continue to try to change the culture, let's just go get us a blue chipper who we know can play and has positional versatility that we can kind of use as a chess piece around the board. Because, yes, Devontae Adams is awesome. Devontae Adams probably has a year or two left as one of these top 5 guys in the NFL. Hopefully he has more. We love watching him, but we know the age cliff is real and is a thing. And Brock Bowers he was closer to Rome Odunze, Malik Neighbors, and Marvin Harrison Jr. as a pass catcher than Brian Thomas Jr. was. So if you're evaluating this as a wide receiver and you go, okay, yeah, I could see where Vegas thinks that they could use a wide out there or a pass catcher or a weapon. I think that Brock Bowers, football for football, I don't know if there's a better player in this draft than him, and I think Vegas needs as many good football players as they can get their hands on.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. That's a great way to look at it. Tyson, I was super impressed by the Cincinnati Bengals. Really under the radar stuff. Dude, here's my thing with Mims. At pick 18 for a team like the Bengals, I love it because he can sit. You already have Orlando Brown, Trent Brown. So you went out and got some guys. Okay, fair enough. He can sit and develop. If you need to step in, okay, you're going to be in trouble anyway. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh man, he's in. We're screwed. No, if he's in, you're screwed anyway. Like somebody's hurt. Somebody's having some issues here. But then you get Chris Jenkins from Michigan, defensive tackle, interior. I like that bolster and kind of increase your strength there. And then Jermaine Burton, dude, with all these question marks around is T. Higgins, like wants to trade, yada yada, this and that. I think Jermaine Burton could be a stud. You get a little bit cheaper there if you do decide to trade T. Or if you don't feel like moving on with him next year. I know he's balancing stuff. I like Jermaine Burton a lot, especially in round 3. And then McKinley Jackson, defensive tackle A&M. You use your compensatory pick on a guy with that. Get across the D line. I thought they did a good job.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't love the Mims pick for them just because I think that they could have used somebody to come in and play right now, and probably somebody that you could at least theoretically kick inside to guard for a year while he gets acclimated to the NFL game. Amari, he's too big. He cannot play guard. You can't send that guy inside. And maybe the least surprising good draft that I've seen so far. Jim Harbaugh just did Jim Harbaugh stuff.
Yeah,
like for months it was like, this isn't what he's going to do. There's no way. Comes in. Oh yeah, there's a fantastic offensive lineman from Notre Dame. Sure, I'll take that. Oh, there's a wide receiver that's won at a high level for most of his career and knows. That's the thing I think with Ladd McConkey versus these other receivers is this isn't a guy that hogged targets at Georgia. He's just a guy that maximized all the ones that he got, and that's the offense that the Los Angeles Chargers are going to run. I think a lot of people were surprised they didn't go out and get Blake Corum. Still hit a Michigan guy, right? They go out and they get a guy from Michigan. They get a Harbaugh guy there, and it's a multi-year rebuild that they're trying to do because this is how you sustain success in the NFL. Like Joe Alt is going to play for 10 years. You don't have to worry about like the J.C. Latham stuff. We fell for it. Joe Alt was always going to be the safest one. He was always going to be the Harbaugh pick. And I really like what they have built. It seems like, the AFC West and it's been an arms race for so long. And they kind of stepped out of the bubble for the first time. And thank God Antonio Brown tweeted out they're going to take a quarterback because that was the most fun thing. I was sitting at a table with my buddies, and they're all like, oh, J.J. McCarthy here. It's going to be J.J. McCarthy. It's like, dude, are they going to eat $100 million of dead cap? You think Harbaugh took this job for Justin Herbert to just turn around and go, you know what? I don't actually want to throw. I only want to hand the ball off.
I'm looking here. I'm looking here, Tyson. We got our first special teams player off the board. The Bears traded up and selected the punter out of Iowa.
So they had 4 picks in the NFL draft. They've come out of it so far with 2 really good players in the first round. A project player or a player that could play right away yesterday, and then they go up and they get and we got Sketch on the stage here. So what's up, brother? Tuesday. The NFL draft is a clown show after the first round, dude. All these guys are walking to the podium like they're in the WWE.
Oh
and then they're cutting promos. TJ Husmanjada yesterday was funny. I mentored this guy, and then it was like, well, then we know who it is. Like, quit spoiling the picks for us before you announce them. I love the NFL draft. It is a total mess. And oh, by the way, if you have the chance today, go check out the Falcons phone call to Rook. Blanking on the last name, the defensive lineman from Clemson. It is the funniest draft call I've ever seen in my entire life. Arthur Blank just cold hangs up the phone on the poor kid. He is over the week.
No, poor Arthur Blank, man. The guy's getting screamed in his ear. He just paid $90 million and he saw his idiot GM draft the QB.
Okay, bye.
Let's close on this, Tyson. Just some head scratching stuff I want to get your thoughts on. I am confused by the San Francisco 49ers. Now, Pearsall can be great. Renardo Green can be great. Dominic Pooney can be great. Is Pearsall 31? Nobody thought he was a round one guy. Renardo Green, okay, you needed a cornerback, sure. Couldn't you have gotten somebody in 31? When I'm just kind of sitting here wondering, and John Lynch could have different grades on these guys than us, and he's going to fit in the Shanahan system. They're going to do this specific thing. I understand that, but I'm watching here. It's just not quite clicking for me. You needed a serious tackle. Dominic Pooney's probably going to be a guard, it just there was just certain things that I was watching with watching the Niners. I'm like, that just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I don't know if you have different thoughts or if you agree with me or not.
Well, the thing, we said rounds 1, 2, 3 is where you make your money. Rounds 4 through 7 is kind of where you take your scratch tickets and sometimes you hit big. The San Francisco 49ers under John Lynch have not been very good in rounds 1, 2, 3, and they've been elite in rounds 4 through 7. So fair. I wasn't totally surprised for the way that they've handled things. They are on the clock right now making their first pick here of day 3, but I thought that was a very interesting kind of sequence for them to go about. And then CJ Stroud goes, Ricky Pierce, that's who I wanted. This guy's a dog. How much help you need, CJ? I mean, how many more wide receivers are we going to give this dude? There have been some interesting decisions by some of these front offices, but that's the best part of draft season is that, we don't know for 2 years. We know, we think that Deebo Samuel or Brandon Ayuk is gone in San Francisco. If it was me, if I was running that team, I would be much more inclined to move Deebo Samuel. I think Brandon Ayuk is a true X, and kind of Deebo's awesome. He's a great football player. But the cliff is closer for a Deebo Samuel than it is for a Brandon Ayuk. I'm interested to see kind of how they go forward today because they still need offensive line and they still need corner. And those are positions they've tried to address so far, but this is another of those Green Bay Packers scenarios. Let's talk about the Packers real quick. What do you think?
Sure.
You go offensive line, then you follow it up, you take a safe, like we all thought defensive back somewhere, and then a running back in the third. We think A.J. Dillon is certainly an NFL football player. That's about as ringing of an endorsement that I can give him. So I like the fact that they take running back. It's just like these dudes don't give a shit about stopping anybody from scoring points, and I'm kind of falling in love with it.
Yeah, so the Jordan Morgan thing surprised me. I didn't think that they were going to go offensive lineman route there. Edge Cooper in round 2, you get him at 45 overall. Come on, it's perfect.
Yeah.
It's great pick for me. No, this is where things got a little questionable. I mean, Javon Bullard, sure, he could be good. You need safety. You need secondary help. You got a new defensive coordinator. All right, sweet. But Marshawn Lloyd, round 3. Listen, he's DJ's number 1 running back. All right, you just gave money to Josh Jacobs. You can cut him. Like you said, A.J. Dillon. All right, maybe this is a future play. Tyron Hopper, linebacker from Missouri, round 3, kind of rounds out your 2 days. All right, I see what you're doing. You're trying to bolster defense. I wouldn't necessarily say I'm confused by this. I see the direction they're going. The one that just stood out to me was Marshawn Lloyd. Maybe it's a stash play. I don't know, but overall, the Packers are a good organization. People just like to make fun of them, but they know what they're doing. So it's hard for me to be like stupid. They've always you have to build through the draft when you're in Green Bay. They do it all the time. Maybe they should consult for Atlanta, Tyson.
I'm so excited to see a Quay Walker, Edge Cooper linebacker group because those dudes are getting tossed out of every game that they play for the next 2 years. They are going to hit, and that's going to be really fun. I don't know how much better it's going to make them immediately, but it was funny where everyone's going, oh, this is Cooper DeJean's spot, and then they go offensive tackle, and it's like, what the hell is happening so far in the NFL draft? And like kind of to round this thing out, just lastly, a couple of these dudes that are picked today are going to be awesome. Do yourself a favor, just start watching the highlight tapes. Get yourself pumped on your team's 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th rounders because this is really the only time you have this, and then you have August when all the reports come out that they're killing the veterans in camp, and then when the season starts and these dudes can't play, you need some of the copium. You need a little hope. Fire up those highlight tapes, and like I'm still watching Tyrion Davis-Price stuff, going, man. Like, if that guy figures it out, he's going to be a problem.
All right, let's get out of here. A lot of stuff. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let us know what you think. Are we way off on the Falcons? Are we way off on everything on our criticism? Maybe not. Maybe so. Who knows? Maybe you agree with us. Let us know in the comments. We'll be back early next week. We're going to start making fun of people again, but it's not going to be the GMs. It's going to be these idiots in the media who did immediate grades. And they have to like, oh, never seen the guy play in the NFL. It's an F. Like, come on, it's an A. Like, what are you doing? So we'll go through that stuff. We'll give our analysis. We won't just be snarky. So tune in next week. Stay connected with us. X, Instagram, TikTok at ISWIS_pod. Like, subscribe, and share on the way out. We'll see y'all next week. Enjoy the weekend. Till then, guys. Peace.